Thanks for listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, here to help educate, motivate, and put you on the right path to take control of your health through weekly discussions on topics in the medical field, public health arena, and in your community. And now your host, Dr. Barry.
And welcome to another edition of the Lunch and Learn with yours truly, Dr. Barry here. And I want to say thank you for all of you guys' support on our most recent episode 58, where we asked the question, why is your doctor frustrated? And we answer it in 4 or 5 different points. And a lot of you guys were very surprised by a couple of them. So if you have not checked out the most recent episode, head over to drpiersblog.com/LLP058 for the most recent episode, or just go to your favorite podcast app and check our last episode. But today I'm going to be asking a question. I think it's rhetorical because I kind of know where a lot of you guys are getting your health information from. But what is happening, right? Like, where is all their information, especially in regards to healthcare and just health in general, like coming from, right? Let's enjoy this episode. I think it's going to be another fun one. And it was definitely motivated by recent events on social media that I'm going to be talking about on today's episode. So, like always, head over to drpiersblog.com/LLP059 for today's show notes. Alright, so on episode 59, we're going to be asking the question, where are you guys getting your health information from? And this is a question I think all physicians ask, at least in their head, right? They may not ask it out loud, but I'm going to ask it out loud, right? The reason why I got to ask it out loud is because I am getting very concerned at the path a lot of you are going, right? And I say a lot, and maybe I'm hyperbolizing it, right? But at least the ones that I can see in my vicinity, whether you're face-to-face, whether you're on social media, whether you're just on the internet in general, whether you're following me on the blog posts and you ask certain questions, it's very evident that a lot of people are getting their information in places they probably shouldn't have. And a lot of people are saying things they really shouldn't. And it's becoming so detrimental, right? Not for that one person, right? Because if they were keeping some of that information to themselves, I'd probably have no problem with it, right? If they were keeping the information to themselves, I'd probably have no issue with it. But the problem is because of the way our technology is now, right? The way media is now, right? The way social media is now, that when I say something, a lot of people can see it and hear it. I have to be very mindful for the impressionable people that could possibly hear some of the crazy things I'm hearing, right? So over the weekend, I saw a tweet, and again, for those who maybe follow me on the podcast, who maybe only follow me on the podcast and don't follow me on my other social media outlets, I'm on lots of different social media outlets. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm even on Snapchat, right? So I'm on a lot of social media outlets just because, one, I like being social, and two, I understand that I'm on YouTube as well, and two, I understand that, not everybody kind of takes their information the same way. Not everyone is all in one location. That'd be great for me if it was, right? It'd be great for that every time I drop the podcast, it would get to everybody who listens, right? But that's just not the case. I have a lot of people who listen to the podcast when they check my website. I have a lot of people who listen to the podcast when they're checking my YouTube page, right? So lots of different reasons for listening to the podcast and listening, just getting your health information. Which is why I'm pretty much everywhere, right? But when you're everywhere, right, you see some things that, you almost wish you could unsee. So over the weekend, I saw a tweet that insinuated that the reason for the antimicrobial resistance that there is, again, if you've been following the podcast, check episode 23, where I talk about antimicrobial resistance and why I don't like prescribing antibiotics for your common cold, because it's usually viral. So check out episode 23. I'll put the link in the show notes for that. But the author of the tweet insinuated that the reason for the antimicrobial resistance is because doctors did not understand the basic principle of evolution, right? And one, that sounds actually far-fetched and crazy, right? Two, that's actually not the reason for antimicrobial resistance, right? But when I thought about it, right, and I said, you know what, that's a stupid tweet. No one's gonna pay it any mind. But then I look and I see that it's getting retweeted. And then I look and see this person almost has a couple thousand followers. So then I think, wow, like someone, right? Like someone who reads that tweet is really going to believe that the reason why antibiotic resistance is out there is because the doctors don't understand the basic evolution of, bugs and microbes, which is crazy, right? And the premise of the whole tweet in general was that this person insinuated that doctors avoid STEM degrees and go the easy route before they go to medical school. Again, another crazy endeavor. But again, people are entitled to their opinions. You allow it to happen. Not to say that their opinions are right or wrong, but a lot of times they're on the wrong side, especially when it comes to health, right? And as a person who's been on social media for quite a while, it was funny because when I first started out on social media, I didn't even like telling people I was actually a physician, right? Like I was, my tag name had like doctor in it, but I never really like put it out there that I was actually a physician. And one of the reasons is that I saw so much crazy health advice go out there, right? So much crazy health advice that I didn't even want to be attached to the crowd who may be also giving health advice, some crazy ones as well, right? So I used to kind of lay low, right? Of course, I don't lay low now. Everyone knows what I do, how I do it, but that's some of the reasons why, right? So again, when I ask the real question, like where are you getting your health information from? It's really from a sense of concern. It's really from a sense of worry because I'm afraid that a lot of you are getting your health information from places you definitely should be avoiding. And to kind of lead us into this topic, right, you have to kind of think about like old times and now, right? Like in the past and the present, right? In the past, right, where did we used to get our health information from, right? Like, and I kind of thought about this, and I think there's really like three systems, right? Three kind of ways where we used to get our health information from and where we may not get it right now, right? For some, right, we used to read books, right? Some people, and again, there weren't that many, but some people used to read lots of books on just healthcare and medicine and healing in general. And that's kind of how you got your information from, right? From just kind of general reading. And these were books that were usually authored by scientists and physicians, so you knew they were credible sources. And that leads us to our number two source, right, of where we used to get health information from, as the physician, right? For many people did not necessarily want to know about their disease. They did not necessarily want to know how their disease worked. They just wanted to make sure you knew how to treat it. So for a lot of people, that doctor-patient relationship really relied on the fact that, hey, I'm coming to you to heal me. I don't necessarily want to know about how you're healing me or like how does it work. I just want to know that you can do it, right? So the physician was a very big primary source of our information gathering when it comes to like how we used to consume our health information, right? Because again, for a lot of times, a lot of people didn't want to know, and a lot of people were okay with the relationship that their doctor knew what was going on, and they were just okay with being healed. And I think the last one, this is something especially being of Haitian descent, right? Family tradition is a big thing too, right? There are a lot of tried and true remedies that were tested over time, whether it be teas, whether it be drinks, whether it be lotions and creams. There's a lot of different remedies out there that were kind of passed down from family member to family member that we kind of use for our common colds and illnesses that work just as fine as some of the stuff we have out today, right? So what did all of these kind of systems kind of mirror? They mirror like this closed system, right? It was like this closed system where if you saw the doctor, then you knew what was happening with your care, right? If you were in the family, then you kind of knew the family remedy, right? Like if you happen to go to the library and read these reviewed books by some established authors, then you kind of knew, right? It was like a closed system, right? It wasn't as open as it is now, right? And I think that's kind of where we are today, right? We're in a very open system when it comes to how we gather our health in general and how we gather information in general. And what's happened now is that media and the internet has kind of opened the doors. It's not even really opened the doors. It's kind of kicked down the doors to the access of health information, right? And it was to a point where now if I want to know about lupus, if I want to know about rheumatoid arthritis, if I want to know about breast cancer, colon cancer, I just honestly put it in the search bar and press go, and it goes. And I learn a lot about it. I get a lot of results back. And the issue is because the media has made it more accessible for you to understand and get information on your medical and health care, right? It hasn't necessarily made it more reliable, right? We have some tried and true websites that we tend to go to when we're looking for health information, whether it be WebMD, whether it be Medscape, whether it be MayoClinic.org, whether it be drpierresblog.com, right? Like we have some websites that we tend to go to when we're looking for our health information, but that doesn't necessarily mean much, right? Because again, for all you know, right? Again, let's say, I was just some random person who wanted to call himself drpierresblog.com. I could have been writing all of these medical, related information. I could have been doing these videos. I could have been doing this podcast and have no, background in medicine, right? Like it's quite possible because honestly, all you need is to be able to open up a laptop, turn on your phone, just type away. Like that's all you necessarily need to do to kind of put the information out there. So what's happening now is I think a lot of people, whether you're consuming their information through blogs, through television, through these video channels, through social media in general, a lot of people are not fact checking it like they should, right? And it was something that I used to experience a lot in my practice, right, where people would come in and say, hey, Dr. Pierre, I just read this article about my disease and I want to try this remedy. And so when I would ask them, where is that article from and, who wrote it and, what scientific backing is there, I would get a lot of resistance. I get a lot of pushback. Because for a lot of people, especially when we talk about that old time where it was the doctor-patient relationship, was more of, hey, I come here, you take care of me, and then I don't ask no questions. Now you have these patients that, they want to know, right? They want to know everything about what's going on. They want to know that you know what you're talking about. And honestly, sometimes they want to confirm that they know what they're talking about, right? Especially our patients, like we call these patients like the consumeristic type patients, right? The Googlers of the world, right? Where they Google their disorder. Then they come to you and say, hey, I Googled it. I found the answer. I just want to confirm that I'm on the right path, right? You have a lot of patients who are doing that, right? And I can tell you there's a lot of physicians who don't really like that way, right? There's a lot of physicians who, when they came up and their personality was more of, hey, I say take this medication and you take this medication. Whereas now that same doctor may say take this medication, but now the patient, right, you who's listening, right, is going to be like, well, do I really need to take this medication? Like, is there any other medications I could take, right? Like you guys are asking much more questions, which I love, right? Like I want my patients to be as informed as possible. Again, we wouldn't be doing any of the stuff that we're doing, right, if giving you guys information to empower yourself wasn't the goal, right? But what's happening? Honestly, what's happening is that a lot of you guys, and again, I say a lot of you, it's all hyperbole, but a lot of you guys are getting your information from sources that you probably shouldn't be getting your information from. And what's been happening is that the authority that the physician used to hold just isn't there no more, right? The authority that, the family tradition used to hold isn't there no more, right? Those articles and stuff you used to read that were authored by physicians and, credible people alike are now being replaced by quick blogs and quick videos of people who, are enthusiastic and just wants to write about it, but not necessarily know all of the ins and outs, right? And again, like I said, I'm not saying that everyone is like that, right? Like there are some sources where I think it's good because, again, I think one of the criticisms I have always had on the medical profession especially on our side, is that we do such a bad job at really communicating with you guys of where you get your information from, how you should consume your information, and what to look for when you go out searching, right? And for those who are listening, if you've ever had a headache, right, and you searched WebMD or some of these other websites like, hey, I got symptoms of a headache, what could this be? Very often I've gotten calls from patients saying, hey, I think I have cancer, right? Like it all, because again, is headache a symptom of cancer? Sure. Do you have cancer? Probably not, right? But because they've went out and looked for an answer, they got the answer that they was looking for, right? And a lot of people really aren't ready for the answers that they're looking for, right? And I think sometimes it kind of surprises them. They're like, oh my God, I just thought I had a headache. I thought I was going to have to take some Tylenol. But this website's telling me I may have cancer and I need to go see a neurosurgeon and all these things here that they weren't expecting to get. And I think that's one of the things that as a physician, one of our skills is that we're able to take in information that our patients give us and really kind of prioritize, like, okay, this person probably doesn't have cancer. They probably have a tension headache. Let me suggest this remedy, right? But the problem is you don't necessarily get that kind of filter, right? When you go online, you don't necessarily get that kind of filter when you're watching TV shows, right? You don't get that necessary kind of filter when you're on social media. So that's why it's important to really understand who to get information from, how much information to take from it. Like I said, when I talked earlier about the tweet, right? The tweet really was discussing in a very important topic, right? Like, again, we talked about on episode 23 about antimicrobial resistance, right? But what was wrong was that the tweet suggested that physicians, right, doctors, because of their lack of understanding of evolution was the cause of it, right? And again, check out the last episode to find that, I mean, not last episode, but episode 23, where I kind of discussed some of the reasons why antimicrobial resistance kind of started in the first place, and it's kind of here to stay. And let me tell you, hint, hint, money is a part of it, all right? Because money's always a part of it, especially in healthcare, right? So again, not to say that I want you guys to stop going to your favorite blogs, your favorite health blogs, your favorite Instagram nutrition pages. I don't want you to do that, right? Like, I want you to do that, but I want you to go at it with an eye of, okay, I understand where this is coming from. I understand how credible this information may or may not be, and I need to be able to make the best choice from it, right? And at the end of the day, knowing that I have physicians and healthcare workers out there who are willing and able to assist me, right, is something I need to make sure I can fall back on, but not necessarily discredit, right? And I talk to some of my colleagues all the time. Some of the biggest gripes, again, I should have mentioned it last week on the episode. Some of the biggest gripes is that physicians no longer feel like they have any authority, right? Like, they no longer feel that they have any say when it comes to healthcare, right? They have to sit and watch as people who know something about wellness and health, right, are getting paid 10 times as much to speak on the topic that they've gone to school for years for, right? Like, they've had to sit and watch as patients come into their office with pages and pages of a website blog from a person who doesn't necessarily have the credentials to be talking about what they're talking, right? So they're having to face the premise that, yes, I can tell you take this medication, but you're likely going to say, no, I'm not going to take it, and this is why, or I found a different alternative when I went to this website, right? Or I found a different alternative when I heard from this TV show, right? So that's kind of, again, where we're at with health information. Again, I want to stress that I am not telling you not to check out social media, right? I'm not telling you not to check out television. I'm not telling you not to check out these blogs and these video channels. What I am telling you is that to make sure that you're giving them the same amount of scrutiny that some of you are giving the physicians, right? Some of you are giving the family traditions that were the old ways how we consumed our health information, but no longer is the case. That's long gone, right? Long gone are the days where your physician's going to tell you all you need to know about your health care, and that's about it, right? Long gone are the days where the only source of your health information is just going to be from family tradition, right? That's not happening anymore, right? So we got to be able to adjust together, right? Physician and patient adjust together this new world and see how we can kind of use that to our advantage, right? Which is again something which is a goal of mine when we started, Dr. Pierre's blog in general, right? Because I understood that social media was going to be very big when it came to healthcare, right? And I wanted to make sure I was in front of it all. So again, that wraps up this week's episode 59. Like always, check out drpierresblog.com/LLP059 for today's show notes, or lunchlearnpod.com for all of the podcast episodes on there. And the goal is to empower you to better your health today. See you guys next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Lunch Learn with Dr. Barry. Please head over to lunchlearnpod.com where you'll get the most recent episodes as well as today's show notes for your listening and viewing pleasure. And like always, depending on where you're listening this to, please subscribe to the podcast so you can get all the latest episodes sent directly to you. And we are at all of your favorite podcast listening stations, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher Radio. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen and empower yourself to take control of your health, and we'll see you next week.